ScouterStan. Summer camp? I remember I did a video about summer camp and the leaders that go to summer camp and the benefits they get from going. I think you should check it out. Here it is. ScouterStan here. Thank you for joining me on this wonderful journey that we are on. Today I want to talk a little bit about scout camp, whether it be a boy or girl troop going off to a regular summer camp, or a den, or Cub Scouts going individually to day camp. There's a lot that can be done for adult leaders at these things. There's a lot of opportunity. When you're dealing with a den, sometimes you may want to go to day camp just to do something different. So if you're normally the Cub Master, maybe you'd like to try on doing den leader work for a week. Try it out. This may be very enlightening to what's going on within your pack. In a scout troop, a lot of troops get together and they will actually have different divisions for the adult leaders. One adult will step up and usually take over advancement, making sure that all of the stuff that's needed for advancement is kept track of during the time they're at camp. Quartermaster, a lot of troops will go with equipment such as lanterns and maybe even tents. It depends on where you're going to camp, what kind of quartermastering you would be doing. So that's a very important job. Health officer, I've done that several times, and I think it's wonderful. Now the health officer, this isn't for anything major. They take care of the paperwork. They also take care of medicines that might be needed. It varies, okay? It depends on the camp you're going to, check the rules, and it depends on what is available. Now these are just roles within what you would be doing out there at camp. There are other things you could be doing. Now, if you have a large leadership there and you're at a really high quality camp, there is other training. There might even be specific training for your position in the troop. Something to look into. There may even be merit badge training available. If not, if you're at a merit badge counselor and you're teaching this merit badge to youth, you may want to go to that merit badge at summer camp and see how they're doing the teaching. Good pointer. So that's something you could do. Some camps go as far as doing emergency training, whether it be CPR or AED that they can do. These are trainings you can get certified in. So check with the camp you're going to see if this is something that is available. Always keep in mind that there are spoof merit badges. Now, I like spoof merit badges. I got my duct tape merit badge as an adult, and I actually have a sash of spoof merit badges. That's my duct tape merit badge, and I got that with a troop when I was there as an adult leader. And there's all different kinds of funny merit badges out there. Lots of them, all right? Check with that camp. See if they've got something like that, okay? Check on the spoof merit badge. Do something this summer. You're on vacation too, so do something for yourself. Try to bring a larger picture to scouting by becoming even a better leader than you are. Something to think about. Summer camp is not the only camping that's out there. There's winter camping. And even though I live in South Florida, okay, south of the Great South, we do summer camp, but we love to go camping in the winter. Even up north. When I lived up north, I camped during the winter. I've slept in an igloo. So this is a video about that. Winter camping. ScouterStan here. Winter camping. That is something when you have to understand a little bit about my history. I love winter camping. In my past, when I was a youth, my father was a professional scouter. And when you're in professional scouting, every 3 to 4 years, you move to a new area. So I lived all over the Northeast. I love winter camping. I remember, I believe I was living in Saratoga Springs. My father was a professional scouter, and that was the desert. And Saratoga, Camp Saratoga, was beautiful. Beautiful place. Still exists. I don't think it's a scout camp anymore, from what I've seen, but I do have some photographs of it. But it's current day, and the wonderful thing about it is we had a Klondike Derby. Now, where I live now, I live in Florida, so we don't get snow, so we don't do a Klondike Derby, or do we? Now that's something to think about. But back to the camping that I did, I actually stayed outside. It was 20 below zero Fahrenheit. Okay, for those in Europe, you're going to have to do the math for Celsius. But the thing is, it was 20 below. But I was very lucky. Our troop had a Canadian native that was visiting and taught us how to build an igloo and sleep in it overnight. Now that was quite the experience. I'll never forget it. It's 20 below zero at night, howling wind and snow drifts, and I didn't freeze to death. And I granted, it was my guide who taught me that the number one thing about winter camping is staying dry. Critical. Once you get wet, it's very hard to dry out. Very hard. And once you get wet, you start losing your temperature. Okay, whether it be because you're in the snow, which is made out of water. It's natural to be, your shoes are going to be wet. There's ways of taking care of these things, staying dry. And as long as you can stay dry, you can stay warm. That's the big thing. The human body, when you're doing activities and working out and stuff, the human body sweats, and that's a matter of cooling you down. You don't want to sweat when you're in 20 below zero weather. You want to stay warm, but you don't want to get so hot that you start sweating. So that's something to keep in mind with your youth. You got to be watching them. Typically the ones that are bigger, hulkier, you don't have to worry about them as much as the thinner scouts. Okay, the scouts that are smaller and oops, didn't mean to do that. I hit the microphone here. The smaller scouts, they typically will lose heat faster. It's a scientific thing. Okay, so that's something that you need to be aware of as an adult leader. Now down in the south, down here in mid-Florida, central Florida, we don't have snow. We don't have those issues, but it still gets very cold, and it feels colder than it actually is. Now this sounds like a warm time up north, okay, especially in the dead of winter like now. But if it's 50 degrees or 40 degrees outside, and the humidity is at 80%, it's going to feel considerably colder because of the moisture. The natural moisture in the air is going to make it feel colder. This is true with, we call it in the south, it's called a humiture. Okay, and up north it's called a wind chill. So it's a different kind of thing. Wind chill can be, your temperatures can actually go down considerably from wind blowing. The wind can actually make the temperature, when it's, say it's a nice 30 degrees outside, okay, and I'm talking Fahrenheit for all this Celsius. If it's 30 degrees outside, that's below freezing. But if it's got a pretty steady wind, that can get very cold. It can get, you know, well below zero. So that's something to keep in mind. Even winter camping. Now, winter camping in Florida is just like camping up north in the summer. We don't really do a whole lot of outdoor camping, unless, well, summer camp, of course, but we have winter camps that we do, and it's just like regular summer camp up north. That's really the big difference. When you're looking at the weather and stuff, it's always very important to keep safe and to keep our scouts safe. The last thing we want to do is frostbite, and that's something that we need to think about. If they get too cold, we could have issues, and there should always be a plan B, a backup, some way of getting the scouts warm again as a group, or individually. There's no one-on-one, but as if an individual comes to some scout leaders, then they need to be able to get to a facility that's heated so that scout can not go into hypothermia or something like that. Okay, so they need to be aware that there always has to be that plan B. And as scout leaders, we need to keep our scouts safe. Whether it be winter camp, any camping, there is an issue that adult leaders like us need to deal with, and that's homesickness. Now, personally, I get sick of home. I want to go camping, okay? I think most adults do. But unfortunately, sometimes these scouts, the first time they're at camp, is probably really rough. There's a separation. This is something we need to deal with, and this is a video on the subject of homesickness. Hey, ScouterStan, I want to talk a little bit about homesickness and how adult leaders handle homesickness. I've been on many summer camps with a troop and have been the designated leader that handles homesickness. And I've had a lot of experience with it. And it is one of those critical things that we need to prepare for with scouts. Inevitably, it is usually the second or third night of summer camp when homesickness really kicks in. The first night, there's so much excitement going on and there's so many things happening. Typically, the scouts fall asleep rather quickly. But when they get back home, back to their campsite, that is when the downtime. That's when they start obsessing, and self-imposed fears start to be realized in the scout's mind, and they can get rather upset. One of the big symptoms is being sad and crying. That is a very common thing. They could also take the opposite and be very irritable, very quiet. They can also be very oversensitive. The littlest thing can really set them off, being angry or upset or mad or sad. I mean, it's an emotional thing that they are dealing with. The cause is basically an immature reaction to separation anxiety. This can manifest in many ways. Self-imposed anxiety can overdrive the system, and because of their youth, they have to express it in some way. The only treatment is compassion, understanding from other scouts and from the adult leadership. That is critical to helping the scout come to terms with their own self-imposed problem. Additional to that, one of the good treatments for that is a buddy system. Make sure that they are tenting with somebody within the YPT guidelines and that they have more experience and they can help them through that process. Make sure the scout knows that they can always approach the adult leadership and they will help as much as they possibly can. The recovery from homesickness can take some time, but this gives them a maturity, a skill that they can handle the separation. They can handle all of the issues that they have self-imposed on themselves. This is a critical part of growing up. Parents need to think back to when they had homesickness. This was a skill that was inevitable. It's going to happen. Okay? But it's a skill that handled correctly can really help a scout become more independent. And that is a critical skill. Before the scout even leaves home, parents need to be talking to the scout in a very positive light. Talk about the adventure. Talk about all of the excitement that they're going to have on this trip. Don't say things like, gee, we're going to miss you. Even if it's true, don't do that. That sets up a lot of problems. So just don't go there. Don't say that. Talk positively about their trip, and they will have a positive return. Make sure that, speak in terms where they're not going to be gone for very long. That their pets will be taken care of, their chores will be taken care of. Not to worry about any of that stuff. It's all taken care of. And before they know it, they'll be back home. So that's a critical thing. As a parent, make sure that they understand that they're there to have exciting fun and an adventure, and that not to worry about home. It'll be fine. It'll be here, and you're going to be back really soon. So make sure that that's super clear. Sending a care package, it may or may not cause a problem. If the scout has been to camp many times, sending a care package is a great little thing that happens in the middle of the week. A lot of troops, when they go to camps that are very remote, and the mailing system is delayed because of their remoteness. So a lot of times, if you're going to send a package and it's going to arrive in the middle of the week, you're going to have to send it a week or a week and a half before they actually leave, just so that it will get there on time. Now, the other option is a lot of units will take the packages with them. They'll lock them up in a trunk, and then on the day that they do mail call, that's when they take them out and hand them to the scouts. That is a far better way than mailing packages to camps. Now, if they're going separate, if they're not going with a unit, you may have no option, but typically that's what I would recommend. Try to keep it to one. Don't go overboard. Don't have one every day. That can become issues with other scouts. So definitely keep it to one. Letters from home can be a lot like care packages. Keep them short. I do not recommend long letters. Long letters tend to help scouts obsess, and that becomes a problem. If you're going to send something, the older scouts, all they want is money, because they have trading posts and popsicles and all that stuff. So at most, like a Hallmark funny card, okay, something simple, and don't say missing you or anything, because that'll just add to the problem. So definitely keep it short and sweet if you're going to send a letter. One of the big issues that can come up with a scout that's going through homesickness is the request to call home. This is something that can be very controversial, and let me tell you my feelings about it. Inevitably, when the scout gets on the phone with their parents, They will surrender to their fear, and they will beg to go home. This can be very problematic. The parents will panic. They will be very upset, and they will do what they can to get to rescue their scout from this terrible camping situation. That's one way they think of it. Another way is that they think, why did the adult leaders allow that to happen? Why would the adult leaders put a parent in a situation where they have to tell their scout no? That could be, it goes bad. I really do not recommend that. Our purpose in scouting is to help their self-esteem. This could actually end their scouting. So I really do not recommend calling home for homesickness. It adds more problems than it actually will solve. It is not good. So I do not recommend the call home to cure homesickness. That just makes it worse. Another one is family day. Family day can go really bad. If a scout is having a problem with homesickness and having a real issue, instead of working it out, all of a sudden the parents show up at the camp. Well, little Jimmy is not going back to his tent and finishing his merit badges. He's going home. All right? He sees his parents. He's going home. I mean, it is, so family day cannot, I would recommend that as an adult leader, tell your families that are planning to come out to see the camp, to actually be there, to call ahead and talk with the scout leader and see if that is going to be an issue. That will solve a lot of problems. It may help encourage the scout, but if they're in the throes of a really bad homesick situation, seeing them, they're not going to continue with camp. They're going to go home. So family day can be really bad. Cell phones. These marvelous pieces of computers that we like to put in our pockets keep in communication with the world. Some parents actually hide cell phones in the backpack or trunk of their scout going to camp. And this is purely for the adult parent separation anxiety. They're going through it too. So that can be a real issue. Having a cell phone that is unknown, that's free-range to cell phone, in camp can be really, really bad. There can be some issues. So I do not recommend that little Jimmy have a cell phone. It's okay for him to have it on the way up, and it's okay for him on the way back, but not while they're at camp. And we have talked about in other videos the good and bad things as far as cell phones. One of the major things as adult leaders is to help scouts gain the skill of self-reliance. Homesickness is a natural thing that every scout goes through. I know that I went through it when I was a young person at camp. I went through the same thing. It actually helps make better, more adjusted individuals that can handle something like homesickness. It is inevitable. And parents go through it too. They have the same type of thing, but they're at home. And when their youth is not home, they go through that same separation. So it is a way of becoming stronger. Scouting is a wonderful thing, and we're in a safe environment. They are going to be taken care of, and it's important that they go through a lot of those issues that come up at camp. Tell you what, camping is a lot of fun. Sometimes. Sometimes it can be challenging. We have a great responsibility with our youth to make sure that we keep them safe. Safety is job one. Okay, that is number one. And camping is one of those big things that we need to be aware of, all of the things that are going on. Summer camp, winter camp, camping in general, homesickness, all of that is very important. Now this series is very popular, but if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button and the bell so you get notified when we get another video out. Also, feel free to go back through all of the videos that we have here on this channel. And if you have a question or a comment, please put it on the channel. This is an interactive channel, okay? I read all of them. I see all of them. So, and I will respond, okay? So feel free to give me a thumbs up anytime on any of the videos. I love it. Also, if you have friends, make sure you share this. You can put this on your Facebook if you want. If you want, it's up to you. But feel free to share this channel and all the things that we do on the ScouterStan craziness on this channel. So, but I tell you what, you're doing a great job. And you know what? I will see you next time on the trail.